40 to 60% of people who are homeless have jobs, first off. Number two, the number one leading cause of homelessness is poverty. Not drugs, not mental health, poverty. And number three, being in a shelter is like a combination of being in jail, an old folks home, a mental institution, and a drug rehab facility, all rolled up in one. Message. By the way, what do you think the message is with me saying that? Get in the comments and say what y'all think the message is. All right, so before I go any further, if you came for violence and voyeurism, I'm gonna have to tell you to pump your brakes, because we about to get into some real education first before we talk about anything. It's some things we need to lay down first, all right? So that leads me to this next point. If you've never been in a homeless shelter, this is your opportunity. I would like for you to take the opportunity for you, yourself, and those around you to sit the fuck down and shut the fuck up, because it's education time for your last, all right? So, because I know y'all got y'all propaganda, and, you know, it's so easy whenever somebody homeless, it's so easy for them to get into a shelter or whatever. That alone is wrong. Getting into a shelter alone, let alone the type of bullshit that goes on in the shelters that leads to our story time. But just even getting into a shelter is not fucking easy. You know why? Because homelessness is fucking rampant. You know why? Per my second statistic, poverty is fucking rampant. All right? 40 to 60% of people that's homeless got a job. Yeah, guess what? You know, when I was homeless in Minnesota, which is, you know, where this story takes place, I was a teacher. Would you want to know? And I had a lot of teachers that was like, oh, I'm really grateful for you, you know, especially because, you know, I was a black teacher. Being a black and male teacher makes you a significant, you know, I would say just, I ain't gonna say it's unheard of, but if you're not growing up in a place like Chicago where we got segregation the way it is, if you black and living in any other place in the United States, your teachers was almost certainly all white and female. But anyway, point is, a lot of teachers thought that I was, you know, a good teacher and their favorite teacher or whatever, and students thought that I was one of their favorite teaching shit. Imagine if your child's favorite teacher was homeless. What the fuck would that do to, would you be okay with that? If you're not okay with that, then you shouldn't be okay with your teachers and other people that our society need being homeless. Which means you should worry about everybody. You shouldn't want nobody to be homeless. If that don't sit well with you, you need to sit well and let me finish talking and shut the fuck up. You hear me? All right, so we got more to talk about. So let me talk about the top 5 worst rules that I've ever experienced. Like I told you, you don't have to wait. If you're here for voyeurism and violence, you're going to have to wait. But the top 5 worst rules I've encountered going into a homeless shelter, I've been to shelters, just before I get this list off, I've been to shelters here in the Chicago area. I've been to shelters. Most of the shelters I've been to was in Minnesota, and then I've also been to shelters in Denver. And so all of these rules is going to be either a combination of those places, or I'm going to specifically say where I heard this rule from and shit. All right. So number 1, the time you have to be there. The time you have to be there is so bogus, G. What the fuck did I put right here? Yeah, I'm reading from my notes. Damn, fuck it. I don't remember what I wrote. I was writing with a fucked up pen. But anyway, we're gonna keep it rocking, we're gonna keep it moving. All right, so when you have to be there is so ridiculous depending on where you go. You either have to be there like by 7 p.m. sometimes. Sometimes you gotta be in there by that time and you can't leave. Like when you check in, you can't leave. You can't leave to go smoke. You can't leave to go say what up to no homies or nothing. You can't leave. Oh shit, I need to pick up some food real quick. You in that bitch at 7 p.m. and you cannot leave. Sometimes it's like you have to be there at a certain time, even if you have a job, and we're gonna talk about the fucked up ways that they handle people who have a job. But you have to be there by like 10 p.m. And even if like Minnesota, like sometimes they'd be cool. You get there at 10:01, they might fuck with you. But sometimes it'd be snowing like a motherfucker and fucked up, and you gotta like figure it the fuck out. Even if like you legit had an issue with public transit or whatever, trying to get there, you gotta get to that bitch and be there by that time, even if you have a job. Some shelters is different, like I said. Some shelters, they may work with you, but a lot of times they not fucking around. When I was in Denver, oh my God, the Denver shit was so crazy because you just waiting outside in the cold. I was in the Denver shelters January of last year, and that shit was so goofy because you just out there waiting, like you are waiting all until, because it's a line of y'all. You're waiting to see like which shelter you finna go to, because every shelter system per city is different. Which, by the way, for example, the Chicago shit, as far as when you gotta be there, yo, it's so crazy because it was this particular old motherfucker who was giving me the rules and shit. I'm gonna actually say that for later when I talk about the rules that they got about food. So just hold tight about that. All right. So the second worst rule is when you have to leave. So sometimes you gotta be out. It was a shelter I was staying in where you had to be up and out of that bitch by 7 a.m. The one in Denver was like, you gotta be up, so they wake you up at 6 in the morning. And it was, I think that's probably what I wrote down, was that it was cold as shit in one of them shelters. And I ended up doing some real, radical hot boy shit and calling the damn, it's like some sort of headquarters or whatever, because it was like the Denver, I think it was like the Denver County Department of Parks and Recreation or whatever, because the shelter was just a big ass gym room, cold as shit, with mats, fucking prison mats on the motherfucking floor and shit. But like I said, the shit is like jail. So what I was gonna say, sorry, I was eating a peanut butter jelly sandwich early. But anyway, so they wake you up cold as hell. I'm bringing it up as cold because it's hard to get sleep, right? They wake you up out of your barely hardly sleep. You gotta like freshen up as fast as you can, take a shit or whatever as fast as you can. And then you gotta make sure you can, because I was new to Denver. I didn't know the area. It's not like Chicago, where even though Chicago's CTA system sucks, it's still the best in the country, which is a wild fact. And yes, it is a fact. So it's like a part of town. So the main homeless area that I was at when I was in Denver was the 5 Points area. I was just watching that episode of South Park too, and it was like, you want to get down with the 5 Point Crips? Remember when motherfucking Timmy and Jimmy joined the Crips and shit? It's still fuck Trey Parker and Matt Stone, but I ain't gonna lie, I did used to like watching that shit before I realized that they was both some devils. But anyway. And by the way, if you don't know why I think they devils, the devils because they talk shit that they shouldn't be able to talk because they're white boys. They shouldn't have the right to talk all the shit they talk. But anyway, when you're from a place of privilege, you gotta pump your fucking brakes. But anyway, so we motherfucking, what I was gonna say, we gotta get on this bus. The bus ride is the most pleasant experience of the homelessness and shit. I hope like the frame rate and everything is keeping up, because I feel like it may be a little bit of lag. If it is a little bit of lag, forgive me and shit. But anyway, so you get on that bus. It was a fine sister from Philly, a Philly from Philly. She was so beautiful. And she was the bus driver and shit. And It was funny because two white boys on some white on white crime shit. Two white boys, they was calling each other nigga and shit. They got into a fight behind me in the seats behind me when I was on the motherfucker. It's a big ass like tour bus that comes and get all y'all homeless ass and put y'all on the same bus. And then we all just, I was riling people up in the morning too. I'm like, hey y'all, Denver is a fucking state capital. We can fucking really do some shit. But they wasn't hearing it, so I brought my black ass back to Chicago. But yeah, though, you got to be up early as hell. That bus ride, I don't even know how long it was, but it felt like the best barely sleep you get. You feel me? Now, remember what I was saying about having a job and shit, right? That's the third fucked up thing about living in the shelters, G, is that in the shelters, if you have a job, you're a target, not from your other you feel me, fellow homeless people per se, but you're a target from the homeless industry because they're going to try to get a cut of your check, which is so, oh my God, so fucked up. I was dating a sister when I was living in Minnesota, and I don't remember how much of her check that they was taking. But if you get, like, for example, government assistance, they take a cut of that too, from at least that. Once again, this list is about all, like, an amalgamated list of all the fucked up rules I've heard, you feel me, overall. So this is not at every shelter, but some shelters handle you having a job in different ways. This was one of the worst, where I don't even know how much they was taking, but they was taking the shit. And she had kids, right? So she was in one of them family shelters where you got like your own room that you share with like another family type shit. I never was allowed to go in there because it's pretty much only for women or the couple. You would have had to been like, it's a long story. We're not getting into it. But when you have a job in some of them situations, they try to take the money. Or what they tried to do with me in one of the shelters that I was in, also in Minnesota, these motherfuckers was like, we're going to put your money in a savings account. Like, no the fuck you not. So, and then this is the thing. If you tell them no the fuck you not, they will try their hardest, sometimes easier in some situations than others, to kick you out. And you won't be able to come to the shelter because you're not trying to give up your money. You're not finna take my money. What the fuck do you sound like? Then that brings me to the next rule, having food. Once again, this is not at every shelter, but I'm going to tell you the experience I had at a Chicago shelter that made me basically say, nah, I ended up squatting in my auntie's old apartment. Like when everybody moved out, hey, auntie, if you're watching this, yeah, I was squatting in your old apartment. When we moved and shit, she made me give her her keys back, which is her right. But then I was helping her get the last little shit out the apartment. She was like, oh yeah, I need that back. You need to get anything upstairs, before we go. I said, yeah, let me go real quick. I went upstairs, unlocked the back door and left that motherfucker unlocked. So every time I needed to come in, I would either hop the fence or shout out to the Venezuelans who we shared a gangway with. They would be letting me in sometimes if I catch them. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to motherfucking Geraldo. What was his name? Yeah, I think his name was Geraldo. And then shout out to damn, what the fuck was I forgot what the other Micah. Shout out to Micah. He was cool as hell too. Y'all gonna stop tweaking on the motherfucking Venezuelans and the motherfucking immigrants and shit, cause they cool as hell. A lot of them. You know what I'm saying? I know some motherfuckers be tweaking, but everybody don't be tweaking. If you think that's true, then your ass is tweaking with your dumb ass. But anyway, what the fuck I was finna say. So yeah, I got to that point because I'm in a motherfucking shelter. This goddamn security guard, this motherfucker giving me all the root. You know how big, fat, giant, security guard, black dude, usually either got like some dreads or a bald head, you know what I'm saying? Buddy ass was the dreadhead variant of the fat black security guard old head. His ass is all like, all right, now look, so you're not allowed to have food. So this is the number 4 fucked up rule, is how some motherfuckers handle food. You're not allowed to have food unless you have a job. First of all, the list of, I hadn't been there. I immediately got there. I couldn't even put my bags down because he's security. So he stopped you at the door to tell you all the rules. And he must get tired of telling these rules over and over again because it's a lot of rules. And how many people walk the fuck off and just sleep over an overpass because because a lot of people think, shit, if you got to do it, you could just go to a shelter and be obedient. No, this is about human rights. Ain't no motherfucking way you think a human being should be treated like that. Shut the fuck up. Now, as I was saying, big fat husky security guard brethren is all like, nah, the only way you are able to come in with food is if you have a job. Now, you can't eat the food here, but we've got a refrigerator in our community kitchen. You give the food to us, we store it for you, we put your name tag on it. Now, when you leave out, that is when you can get your food again. And I'm just like, big ass, slightly sassy security guard just talking shit about all these rules. He like, now you can come in high, but you can't come in fucked up. You can't come in messing with nobody, and I can't find it on you. We gonna search you every time you come in here, and if you need to smoke something, you gotta stash it outside. And if you need to go outside, you can only go outside every other hour. If you go outside at 1 o'clock, you gotta be in here by 2, and you can't go back outside until 3. I'm like, boy, if you don't get, I was like, bro, I let bro cook and say all his fucking rules and shit. But I was like, yeah, man, I don't know. I went to go eat from this restaurant called, on 123rd, called Highly Flavored. That shit was actually very smacking. And yeah, I took my ass back to my auntie house and was in that motherfucker camping the fuck out. Because what the fuck you mean? I was going to have to throw away all my food. I had food with, he saw the shit in me. You can't bring it in here, you know what I'm saying, unless you have a job. And you have a job, you're getting food to us. I'm like, bro, get the fuck out of here. And then finally, this shit was ridiculous. This is when I knew the whole entire game was fucked up. In one of the shelters in Denver, G, oh my God. This white boy is searching through, so white boy with glasses variant of security guard. He's, I'm sorry, man, I gotta look through all your stuff. And he is not searching my bag for 5 seconds, and he finds, I ain't gonna say find like I was hiding it. He sees sanitizer, and he's like, sorry, man, you can't bring this in here. I said, sanitizer? He's like, yeah, man, during COVID, a lot of people were drinking it, getting high from it. I said, you got to be out your motherfucking mind. You're not gonna police human beings. If people wanna do drugs, they're gonna do it, but that should not stop you from allowing me to be germ-free. Bro, how the fuck you gonna tell me I can't have sanitizer? Shut your, hey, in fact, if you wanna know more, I was only in the Denver shelter system for like 3 days and just brought my ass back to Chicago. I was like, fuck this. I'm not finna do this shit. If you wanna know about that story, that link is gonna be in the description. So along with, what else did I write down here? The video that I wrote about, the video that I have about suicide, I'm gonna put that in the description. And the video where it's a music video, hopefully y'all enjoy. It's an anthology, it has 3 songs. The runtime is 8 minutes and 46 seconds. Rest in peace to George Floyd. And it talks, a little bit about my life and my dealings with homelessness and, Minnesota type shit. So yeah, those are my top 5 rules. We gonna get to the fight. Like I said, if you're here for the violence and voyeurism, you're gonna have to wait. So even the best shelters to get into be still not only hard to get into, but they be still with some bullshit. So there was a shelter called Our Saviors in South Minneapolis. And when you're there, you have to clean, like everybody has a chore, so to speak. So that's how they kind of keep it clean. And they do like this yearly, entire building purge or whatever. So that's cool, I guess. But the city or state and or federal governments can fund this so that there can be some employees, get some jobs going so people can do that shit for some money, for some reasonable amount of money, instead of, oh yeah, well, but I will say this though, you know, in Japan, this is alleged. People always posting some shit online like, did you know? Fun fact. But yeah, allegedly in Japan, all the students have a chore like in their schools, and they don't that teaches them like respect for work ethic or some shit like that. I don't know if that's true, but that would be a cool thing if it were. At any rate, them motherfuckers, because the good shelters are hard to get into, they figure out all kind of ways to kick you out. So for example, in Our Saviors with they bitch ass. So going back to the fat buddy talking about you can be high, but you can't be fucked up. You can't be fucking with nobody, and we can't find it on you, and you can't consume it here. So I was smelling like weed because I ain't gonna lie, I rolled up in the bathroom, but they didn't accuse me of possession. They accused me of smoking on the premises. If they was to say, we kicking you out because you had it on you, I'd be like, damn, fuck it, I'm caught now. But these goofy ass motherfuckers was like, you were smoking in the bathroom. This is one thing I severely hate about people who don't smoke weed, and the people who don't smoke weed who like have a problem with weed. They don't know the difference between the smell of burned weed and the smell of fresh weed. And it fucking pisses me off, because do you not know there was legislation based around that recently in Chicago where you can't get, there was like, they got a law now saying you can't get pulled over for smelling like weed. You can't get pulled over for smelling like burned weed, but you can get you can't get pulled over for smelling like fresh weed, but you can get pulled over for smelling like burned weed, at least in Illinois, last time I checked. But here's the kicker. For people who don't like weed and who don't smoke weed, they cannot tell the difference. So fuck all of y'all that don't smoke weed. Nah. But for real though, we need to do better with the legislation or something, or do better with humanity. Stop worrying about weed with y'all stupid ass. That's what you worried about? Weed with your bitch ass? Man. Anyway, so the piece de resistance, the moment all of y'all ass have been waiting for. Still got to give context for us, so hold that thought. So 4th of July, 2019. This is the date of the fight in question. Thing is, that year, I had got into 3 fights total, one of which resulted in my arrest. If you guys want that video, put that in the comments. We'll do that one. But as for now, we're talking about the second fight that I got into. The first fight I got into wasn't really a fight. It was really just I knocked somebody out because they fucking side note, let me just say before I get back to what I was going to say. Let me just say a side note about Our Saviors being the best shelter and these motherfuckers kicking me out for allegedly smoking weed, even though I fucking wasn't. There was an entertainment room in Our Saviors where it would be lights out at around 10. Excuse me. And as far as lights out is concerned, you can't be just roaming around the facility. But some of us will sneak downstairs, watch TV or whatever and chill because we can't sleep. Or sneak into the computer room, you feel me, and just, watch some YouTube or whatever. But the thing is, I'm bringing this up because it was this fucking white man who was down there smoking crack one time. I'm like, bro, you finna get us fucking bumped. We're not even supposed to be down here, and you're lighting crack. And this asshole gonna fucking say, hey man, you must have never tried it before. I said, you damn right, and I'm not going to. He was like, listen, this is better than sex. Motherfucker gonna tell me, TMI, gonna tell me he climaxed the first time he smoked crack. I'm like, bro, why the fuck? And he's like, it's better than sex. You ever been with a woman before? And I just was looking at his ass. He was like, well, have you? I'm like, bro, I'm not trying to have this conversation with you. Like, yeah, I've had sex before. I'm not finna try to compare no motherfucking crack. Bro, get the fuck out of my face. But anyway, that was the type of bullshit that was going down. Motherfuckers kicking me out, but these sexually disturbed white devils smoking crack in the fucking entertainment room. Man, let me keep moving with my fucking story. But anyway, that year was maybe, I would say, the 10-year anniversary of the last fight I had been in. Thanks to my parents, who are both, to some degree, bitch-ass niggas, for the fact that they have done a lot to try to suppress, just like the white man taught in the slave days, to suppress your male and, in some situations, female children who get a little too tough with the authority figures, i.e., white man, etc. So I got my first police report in first grade, and it wasn't even on no tough shit. It was the last time I checked, that school that I went to. First of all, I only went to that school for like half a year. My mom was like, "All right, you got to get the fuck up out of here." O'Keefe over east. If you're from Chicago, you know. Last time I checked, it's probably not like this today, because this was like years ago. Last time I checked, that school had bullet holes in the fucking door. So that was just the fucking environment. Motherfuckers was getting into fights, and people was overreacting to young black men, defending themselves. It was a little boy that used to always say, "Adonis, you a motherfucking bitch." He used to just talk crazy to me in first grade. I was crunching his shit just off principle alone. And the last time I fought in that era of my life was 5th grade. And that's the thing. Use it or you lose it. It was this fucking kid. I ain't gonna say his name because there's laws against that or whatever the fuck. But this motherfucker, he was like thinking he was a gangbanger or some shit, and he used to try me and shit a lot. And so one time, I didn't give a fuck about none of my parents' rules, getting suspended or nothing. I didn't even fight this motherfucker. I just clawed his face, like dug my fucking fingers and thumbs into his face and was slamming his shit against the fucking lockers. People were like, "Damn!" and shit, because I was going crazy. Because like when your parents, if you listening right now, if you have a problem with your child defending yourself, you shouldn't be a parent, you're a bitch. Your kids should not ever feel like they have a problem defending themselves. Your children should not be starting fights. Your children should not be without the ability to pick their battles, and your children shouldn't be easily agitated to the point where fighting is the only option they have to solve their problems. But if somebody is physically threatening your child on a daily basis, especially, your child should feel the liberty to whoop that ass. Now, as I was saying, because of how much suppression both my parents had on me, I didn't have another fight until sophomore year. So between 5th grade and sophomore year, I was taking all kinds of L's. But the thing is, one thing that was the impetus for that was my father. It was a point in time when my mother worked at my school and my father worked at my school. But the time when my father worked at my school was the worst. That nigga is an asshole. Fuck that nigga forever. Anyway, when he started working at my school, he would like show up. Oh, damn, I'm foaming at the mouth and shit. My bad, y'all. Let me drink the water and shit. But anyway, this motherfucker, you know what I'm saying? Once he started working at my school, he was doing shit like pulling me out of class and pulling my fucking hair and shit in front of kids who didn't even fuck with me, but they was even, you know what? I'm gonna put also in the description the song where I'm dissing my dad on a Kendrick beat. Cause I talk more about, the type of dumbass nigga he was back then and how he's still a dumbass nigga to this day. But at any rate, it was kids that didn't even fuck with me that was still trying to like see, like, was I okay? Like trying to make sure I was good because this nut ass nigga doesn't know how to, how would you think your child wouldn't at the very least be open to violence when both your parents are violent as shit, especially the parent which you share gender with. You feel me? I'm a male. My father's a male. He's an aggressive asshole who has a history of violence, and he used violence against me to fucking solve his problems. Why the fuck would I not feel inclined to do the same? But anyway, I couldn't take it no more sophomore year. This fat ass nigga, I ain't gonna say his name, but if y'all went to Kenwood, y'all know who this motherfucker was. Just was tweaking on me. I don't know. Motherfuckers was just tweaking. So I had to throw hands with him, and I did not have a fight since then until July 2000. No. I didn't have a fight until April 2019. I think it was like the day after.
Yo, what's good?
Oh shit.
I hope you are doing well, man.
That's my little cousin's voice y'all hear, by the way, y'all. My bad. But anyway, I was using this thing as a I was trying to use a fucking system here for the lighting and shit, and it went to a different app. But anyway, so as I was saying, my actual first fight since sophomore year was, I think, the day after 420 of 2019, because this fucking Native American dude who, that's the thing, I don't know what y'all think about Minnesota, but it's not as woke as y'all want it to be. It's not as safe as y'all want it to be. These motherfuckers be tweaking, G, out there. The first time and only time I've ever heard nigger with a sharp ER to my face, Native Americans were saying it to me and other black people. And so, yeah, that's where I'm at with that. But the thing I wanted to bring that up for is it was a Native American dude who called me the N-word. Nigger, he was like, you know what? You're a nigger. And before that, he was like physically, he was like, I'll kill you. I got a weapon on me. I don't know. I forgot what he said he had on him, but he was like, I'll kill you. And I was like, boy, your ass tweaking. But he must have said, what's up, man? He must have said, some brother walked past while I was recording. But anyway, somebody must have said, he must have said some shit like, damn, that shit just threw me off. Anyway, as I was walking off, bro must have said, you know what, you're a nigger. And then that's when I lost it. I was like, nah, I gotta crunch your shit, bro. You ain't gonna get away with that. You can threaten me if you think that shit is okay, because I don't really care about threats and shit like that. But if a motherfucker say some shit like that, you feel me? It's Black History Month, y'all. I gotta say this. If somebody call you that shit, yes, you should have the full freedom of crunching they shit if they call you that. But anyway, so speaking of Native Americans and homelessness and shit, we gonna get to this fight. Here we go to the fight. Up until that point, people in the shelter all really fucked with me for the most part. They all, seen me, I was fresh as hell. I always would come in that bitch looking decent. Like I said, I was a teacher. So a lot of the old school brothers in there be like, Mr. School Teacher, they go that school teacher, you know what I'm saying? And so it was decent vibes. Occasionally, it was the average honky devil in there that needed to be slapped, or the average Native American that needed to be slapped that was in there. Because they was the only ones that, and it wasn't even all of them. It was, some of them that was, decent. But, for the most part, those was the only people I had problems with. Everybody that was black, especially older black men, they was, on some cool shit with me. Except for this one motherfucker. And I don't know if I think his name might have been Reggie or whatever. But yeah, we gonna call his ass Reggie. Cause I gave his ass some smoke. Nah, but anyway, so Reggie dumbass is a guy who, at first, I thought he was like one of them crazy old head hoteps or whatever. I'm thinking, because the first time he got into any beef, I didn't notice he was just repeatedly getting into different beefs, like in the shelter, which is not, only the worst people in the shelter continuously beef with everybody. Occasionally people would cross paths. They knew each other from the block, and yes, it was kind of like some street activity. Imagine being homeless with ops. The shit was not fun. But anyway, occasionally, well, sometimes it was fun, but occasionally it would be some shit. People would come in there. Some shelters got security. Some shelters got, metal detectors and shit. But some of the shelters, motherfuckers was coming in that bitch with whole ass knives and shit. And on all type of crazy time, snorting coke, doing all type of shit. So that's just for context. But yeah, Reggie or whatever, after I guess he got done fucking with everybody, July 3rd, which is really when the story starts, this motherfucker is like, because I had on some flip-flops or whatever. And most of the clothes, all the clothes I was getting at that time was from like free, you know what I'm saying, free places and shit. So shit, it was like the only shit I had was like some flip-flops. And this bitch ass motherfucker talking about, hey man, you making too much noise with them flip-flops. Like I said, it's like jail. And so I was like, boy, what the fuck? Why is you worried about me? Go find some business. And then he just kind of like didn't say shit, but he was like still mean mugging with his crazy ass. The next day was 4th of July. Here was the thing with certain shelters, especially this particular shelter I was at. If it was a holiday season, hey, no, but if you had a DJ holiday, no, but if it was a holiday, the shelter would let you stay in there for the whole day. Because like I said, like when I was mentioning the worst rules and shit, you for the most part was only supposed to be in the shelter to sleep. You wasn't supposed to be like kicking it there all day. They kick everybody out. But on this particular day, it was 4th of July, 4th of the Lies. Hey, I have my own rendition of "Oh Say Can You See," and I'm gonna upload that shit for 4th of July. Y'all gonna see it. It'll be dope. But anyway, this motherfucker decided to ruin the one day we all could chill inside because he's a bitch ass nigga. I'm walking past regularly with my flip flops. They're called flip flops for a fucking reason. They make noise. He gonna say, I see you still making that noise like with them flip flops like a woman, some shit. And I was like, I started trolling him. I was like, I said a flip flop, I flip it to the flippy and I flip flop and I won't stop. And he was like, oh, okay. You think you funny or whatever. And so, oh my God, why people, I guess I'm drawing a lot of motherfucking attention doing my thing and shit. People need to find some business though. This time it was a white boy. But anyway, so I fucking, like I said, I troll him. He says, oh, you think you funny or whatever. I was like, boy, this shit ain't nothing to me, bro. I don't give a fuck what you think. He, oh yeah, if it's that, we can take it outside. I walked up to his ass. I said, we don't gotta go no fuck. As soon Actually, let me rewind, because before he said we could take it outside, because I don't want y'all to think I just stood up and got on business. Before he said, let's take it outside, he said, bro, I'll teach you a lesson you will never forget. I was like, boy, what? He was like, yeah, we could take it outside. I was like, we don't got to take shit outside. As soon as I said, we don't got to go, I don't remember what I said. I said something like, we don't got to go nowhere. But I wasn't able to finish that last syllable of that last word, because all I saw was a dink. That motherfucker instantly punched me right in my shit. I was like, oh, hell no, this old ass nigga. Motherfucker was about the same age as my dad. So I was used to the other fights that I was in where I could just easily like throw a couple of womps and motherfuckers fall to their shit. This was I've been working on a railroad ass old man. He was about the same height as me, but bigger, like bulkier, huskier. He looked like when he would come back to the shelter, he would have on a high-vis jacket. So he probably did have a job. He was probably one of them crazy-ass motherfuckers that's, flat affect. All they do is work and come back to their place of residency, which was the fucking shelter. And since he didn't have a wife and kids to be a bitch to, he was doing that shit to us. And so this dumbass motherfucker, soon as he crunched me, I instantly returned with a left, and that shit didn't knock him out. That shit just hit his shit. He ate that shit. So then I'm just walking backwards steadily, like half guarding with my right, and just constantly. And every time I'm not knocking him out, and he's not punching me back, but he's not falling. He's just like a fucking, as y'all say, neurodivergent, a fucking neurodivergent zombie, just continuously advancing to me as I'm like crunching and shit. And these ain't these is like, I'm trying to put your back into it. I'm trying to crunch and shit. And I guess it was the homelessness diet I was on or whatever. Motherfuckers didn't really have bread like that. I guess I ain't have enough shit. Must have had weak bones. But I was definitely trying to like crunch his shit. And that shit was not working. His shit was swelling up and was getting red, and eventually he started to bleed, which we're going to get to later. But When I saw that shit wasn't working, he was backing. So this fight, by the way, happened in the entertainment room at this shelter. This shelter in question is called St. Stephen's. The St. Stephen's shelter has an entertainment room that has a bunch of board games. We're going to get to board games soon because that plays a role in the fight. But anyway, this motherfucker wasn't getting knocked out and he was like steadily advancing as I was crunching. So I just put him in a fucking headlock and I didn't know what to do because it had been 10 years since I've been in a fucking, like them other two fights. Like I said, the first fight, I just crunched his ass. He fell out. That was not a fight. That was me knocking somebody out. The second fight, get in the comments if you want to hear that one because I ended up facing a felony for that one. That dude was a bitch. He actually tried to run from the fight. But anyway, point is, I got him in this headlock. The gay, bald Russian, attendant of the shelter was like, Adonis, Reggie, no, like, guys, stop it. And so when y'all saw him or whatever, I'm like, damn, we probably finna both get kicked out. So I got up off of him or whatever, and he said some shit to me. I don't remember what he said because I was still like in the, fury of the moment, or I just kind of got up off of him just to my mind was clear enough to see the bald head dude's face and associate him with my housing. But I definitely don't remember whatever dude said to me, but whatever the fucking dude I was fighting, whatever the dude who I was fighting, Reggie said to me, I don't remember, but I just remember saying, man, fuck you. And he crunches me again. And I don't know how you can see, but this little dip right here, how it doesn't go all the way straight across. Oh my God. Ew, I'm so sorry, guys. So sorry. But anyway. Also, is it almost it's 4:10. I need to wrap this fucking song and dance up. Gotta go smoke. But anyway, this motherfucker, he crunches me again. So this time I get mad and I pick up a chair and I'm hesitating. I'm like pump faking and I just throw it at his ass and it kind of like bounces off of him and shit. And then I go in, punch him, grab him again. And I'm like, this time, since I got him in this headlock, let me put his dumb ass in a hip toss. So, by the way, when I went to Kenwood, I was on the wrestling team, so some shit does stick a little bit. But anyway, I put him in that headlock, hip toss this dumb ass, and this time, I'm not trying to fight. I'm trying to squeeze the life out this motherfucker. I'm trying to make him pass out or something. And the gay, bald Russian attendant is still there. He's not really saying shit. He's just like, oh my God. Oh, he's just kind of like in panic or whatever. And I'm like, what's good, bro? So he's in panic. Then we got everybody keep walking fast as I'm doing my shit. But anyway, so he's just kind of like looking back and forth or whatever while the whole fight is going on. I still like I'm on top. I got like this arm pushing down like on his neck and shit, and I'm like putting my weight on him. And while I got him like that, the way he was positioned, one of his arms is like underneath him, but the other arm is like trying to fucking punch me and get me up off of him. And I'm trying to stop him, right? Cause like, if I got him like this, and he's still trying to like punch, I'm like having a hard time doing both. So we're on the floor at this part, right? Like I said, we was gonna come back to board games, right? So we right by some board game. Get in the comments and tell me what game this is. I don't know what it is. It's like this giant puzzle that's made out of wood pieces, and the wood pieces are long as shit. And the shit looked like a machete. The shit like a wooden machete. And so I was reaching for that shit. The damn attendant was like, Adonis, no, and then like yanked that shit away from me before You feel me? I could do anything. So I'm mad as hell. So now we're tussling. He's not putting in much effort. He's just kind of like clamming up, like trying not to like have me like harm him. And I'm just like on top of him, like demeaning him and shit and trying to like pull his hands off his face so I can like punch him and shit. But it's not really working. Plus he kind of is grabbing on one of my arms too. It was fucked up. And so ultimately though, I see this fight is pretty much over. It's not going anywhere. So I'm like, the guy is telling us both to get up. I'm like, motherfucker, I'm finna let you go. Do not fucking touch me. He was like, all right. I was like, you ain't gonna touch me. He was like, yeah. Some shit he said to confirm. And then I got up. He got up. He had a white tee on. His shit was fucking bloody. I'm like, yo ass bleeding. And he was like, I'm bleeding. And then he looked down and I was like, yup. And then at this time, the police are being called. I don't know how neither one of us didn't go to jail because the Minneapolis Police Department, look this up. They used to kidnap Native Americans and put them in the fucking trunks of their cars. Yeah, that was the type of time white people was on in motherfucking Minnesota. I got 5 minutes until 4:20, so let me wrap this shit up. I don't know what the fuck else to say, but if you ain't gonna hit the like button, if you ain't gonna hit the subscribe button, at least hit the Cash App or hit the Venmo. My Venmo is at PENGUEYJO, or just type in my email, which is arsonisto@gmail. That's ARSONISTO@gmail. And then my Cash App is ComVent. That's short for Community Ventilation, a failed business I had. That's COMMVENT. And what should show up is, what the fuck should show up? Oh yeah, Supreme Big Brother Akeem. That should be what shows up. And yeah, bless your boy with some bread, man, for real. But I hope y'all enjoy yourselves. I hope y'all enjoyed the video. I hope y'all learned something. I hope y'all do something with what y'all learned. And with that being said, peace, love. She got scared. With that being said, peace, love, and abundance to all of y'all.